The room went still the moment his hand connected with her jaw. A sharp crack echoed through the training bay, the kind of sound that silenced even the loudest egos. Lieutenant Harris stood frozen, realizing too late what he had done. Across from him, Commander Evelyn Shaw straightened her back slowly, blood tracing the corner of her lip. She didn't shout. She didn't flinch. She just looked at him. The kind of look only someone who's seen war gives to a man who's never truly faced himself. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. No one in that room dared to move. They all knew Evelyn wasn't just another officer brought in for evaluation. Rumor said she'd once led a classified SEAL unit. Others whispered she'd vanished after a mission that changed everything. But Harris, young and proud, thought the stories were exaggerated. He'd called her just a relic with medals. Now, his arrogance had turned into fear. Evelyn took a slow breath, her voice low but steady. "In combat, Lieutenant, you hit only when you understand the cost." Her words weren't loud, but they landed harder than his strike. The recruits stared as she turned and walked away, jaw set, expression unreadable. The metallic scent of blood lingered in the air, mixing with the smell of gun oil and sweat. Harris tried to brush it off, laughing nervously. But deep down, something in him cracked that day. The realization that respect isn't demanded. It's earned. Hours later, the base alarm screamed through the halls. A surprise simulation. Lights flashed red. Smoke filled the corridors. "Code Falcon," barked the intercom. It was supposed to test every soldier's reflexes. But what followed would test their humanity instead. In the chaos, Harris found himself cornered by confusion. The mock enemy team had breached their training zone. Faster than expected. Too coordinated. Someone had altered the simulation parameters. Panic rippled through the ranks. Then he saw her, Evelyn, moving through the smoke like a shadow of calm. Orders flew from her mouth with surgical precision. "Secure the north gate. Keep your spacing. Move like you mean it." They followed her instinctively. Even Harris, she didn't need authority. She was authority. Her movements were sharp, fluid, years of real combat distilled into each motion. When an explosion shook the structure, Harris ducked. She didn't. She advanced, dragging a panicked recruit out of the debris, eyes fierce but kind. The exercise ended abruptly. Silence fell again. What had started as a test had turned into an awakening. The commanding officer walked in, applauding softly. "I didn't order Code Falcon," he admitted. "Commander Shaw did. She wanted to see if you'd fight for each other or just with each other." Harris couldn't meet her gaze. His pride had burned away in the smoke. He stepped forward, voice trembling. "Ma'am, I was out of line." Evelyn studied him, then nodded. "Out of line, yes, but not beyond repair." For the first time that day, she smiled. Faintly. Genuinely. A soldier learns from pain. The real test is what he does with it. The recruits stood still, humbled by the quiet authority in her tone. Some would later say they saw tears in Harris's eyes. Others said it was just the dust. But everyone knew something had changed. The woman he'd underestimated had just taught them all what leadership really meant. Not through rank, but through restraint. That night, as Harris walked past the training bay, he paused at the same spot where he'd struck her. The echo of that moment replayed in his mind, not as shame, but as a lesson carved deep. He whispered to himself, "Respect is built, not given." Evelyn's words had found their mark, and perhaps, for the first time, he understood what being a soldier, a real one, truly meant. Because strength isn't the ability to strike. It's the courage to stand firm when you could have. Outside, the wind carried the last of the day's dust across the silent base, just as it had that morning. But something unseen had shifted. a kind of stillness that comes only after truth. Before you go, tell me this. Have you ever learned a lesson the hard way? Share your story in the comments. And if this one moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join me for more stories that remind us. Every act of strength begins with understanding.